Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is July 1st. Have you ever squinted at a string of Christmas lights? The individual bulbs disappear, and instead you see light and darkness, and everything softens. The colors seem to melt together. It's a lovely trick. And it works in the garden, too. I do this with my student gardeners when we're designing beds. If you stand back and soften your eyes, the details disappear. The labels, the stems, the weeds you've been meaning to pull. But what remains is the garden itself. You begin to notice where the colors gather, where one planting carries your eye to the next. And sometimes you can discover a gap this way, one you never noticed before. The writer Eleanor Perrine once observed that Gertrude Jekyll and Claude Monet shared more than artistic genius. They also shared failing eyesight. She wrote, "Both loved plants that foamed and frothed, and both saw flowers and islands of colored light, an image the normal eye captures only by squinting." Jekyll and Monet didn't choose to see their gardens that way. Their poor eyesight simply taught them another way of looking. So the next time you're designing in your garden, soften your eyes and see what happens. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1911 that the American horticulturist Walter Clore was born in Tecumseh, Oklahoma. Walter grew up in Tulsa during Prohibition in a deeply religious Methodist family. His mother belonged to the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and Walter was raised to believe that wine was a sin. He studied horticulture at Oklahoma Agricultural and Mechanical College, but when he graduated, the Great Depression had taken hold, and Walter was lucky to find work sweeping floors at an oil refinery for 25 cents an hour. But then one day, he read about the Grand Coulee Dam and the promise of irrigated farmland in eastern Washington state. Then, in 1934, he applied and won a fellowship to Washington State College. He quickly married Irene Walsh, and together they headed west. 3 years later, Walter joined a small agricultural research station in the Columbia Valley. There were only 3 people on staff. His first projects involved apples, then asparagus, and later pinto beans. That might have been the course of his career, except that one day, a local grower named William Bridgman walked through the door. Bridgman had been growing European wine grapes on Snipes Mountain since 1917, even through Prohibition. That fateful day, he brought Walter cuttings from his vineyard and asked if he would study them. And so, over the next 30 years, Walter tested more than 300 grape varieties, carefully recording which vines could survive Washington winters and ripen in the long northern summers. His colleagues eventually nicknamed him Johnny Grapeseed, and by 1969, when the Washington legislature debated opening the state to outside wines, Walter had something no one else possessed: more than 3 decades of careful research. Walter explained that Washington shared the latitude of France's great wine regions, with abundant sunshine and a remarkably long growing season. The lawmakers listened, and the old restrictions fell away. And before long, Washington's wine industry began to flourish. Walter retired in 1976 after 37 years at the research station, but he wasn't finished. He became a consultant to Chateau Ste. Michelle, Washington's first major winery. Years later, the state officially recognized him as the father of the Washington wine industry. Walter's children like to say that even on his days off, their dad couldn't drive past a vineyard without stopping to check the vines. Walter Clore died in 2003 at the age of 91. Today, a statue of him stands at the Walter Clore Wine and Culinary Center. It's a fitting tribute to the father of Washington wine, who began life as a Methodist boy, taught that wine was a sin. And it was on this day, in 1916, that the American landscape architect Lawrence Halprin was born in Brooklyn, New York. As a boy, Lawrence dreamed of becoming a professional baseball player. He was good enough to be named New York City's Schoolboy Player of the Year twice. But after high school, he spent several years on a kibbutz near Haifa in what was then the British Mandate of Palestine. The experience changed him. Lawrence studied plant sciences at Cornell, then horticulture at the University of Wisconsin. While there, he met a young dancer named Anna Schumann. They married in 1940. One day, Anna encouraged Lawrence to visit Frank Lloyd Wright's home called Taliesin in Wisconsin. The visit changed the direction of Lawrence's life. He immediately left horticulture for landscape architecture and enrolled at Harvard's Graduate School of Design. He joined the office of the landscape architect Thomas Church, and by 1949, he'd opened a practice of his own. Over the next several decades, Lawrence helped redefine the American landscape. He designed Sea Ranch along the Sonoma coast, where native flowers flowed between homes without fences. And he transformed downtown Portland with a sequence of parks linked by a tree-lined promenade, including the Ira Keller Fountain, where 13,000 gallons of water cascade every minute over terraces inspired by the Sierra Nevada. And in Minneapolis, he designed the Nicollet Mall, one of the country's first pedestrian transit malls. But Lawrence believed his greatest influence didn't come from architecture. It came from Anna. As a choreographer, Anna created what she called scores, leaving room for improvisation. Lawrence realized that a landscape could work the same way. He stopped thinking about places as finished designs. Instead, he created places that people could discover by moving through them. The idea reached its fullest expression in the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial in Washington, D.C. Instead of a single monument, visitors walk through 4 outdoor rooms, one for each of Roosevelt's 4 terms, with waterfalls that grow larger as the story unfolds. Lawrence called it the apotheosis of his life's work. Lawrence died in 2009 at the age of 93. Anna lived to be 100. Together, they spent nearly 70 years teaching one another that landscapes, like dances, aren't simply to be admired. They're meant to be experienced. In today's Unearthed Words, we celebrate the French novelist George Sand, who was born on this day, July 1st, in 1804. George Sand was born Aurore Dupin, the daughter of a Napoleonic officer and a Parisian seamstress. When she chose a pen name, she chose George, a name that in her local dialect meant one who works the land. When she was 4, her father was killed in a riding accident, and so George was raised by her grandmother at the family estate at Nohant in central France. It was there she fell in love with gardens. She learned the names of plants the way children learn the names of friends. Years later, after her marriage ended, George fought to keep Nohant. She won, and the garden remained the center of her life. Once George wrote, "I sow, I plant, I smoke my flower beds. I make beds, I drive stakes, I raise walls. I'm in clogs all day and only come home for dinner." George understood that gardening isn't something you fit into your day. Often, it becomes your day. In another moment, she wrote, "Butterflies are but flowers that blew away one sunny day, when nature was feeling at her most inventive and fertile." At Nohant, George planted 2 cedar trees, one for her son Maurice and one for her daughter Solange. They still stand today. In her novel Le Mar au Diable, she wrote, "Nature is eternally young, beautiful, and generous. She pours poetry and beauty to all beings, to all plants. She has the secret of happiness, and no one has been able to take it away." After George died, she was buried at Nohant, beside the garden she loved. And today, visitors still make the journey there, not only to honor one of France's great novelists, but to remember the woman who called herself one who works the land. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Private Gardens of Connecticut by Jane Garmey. Well, if Jane's name sounds familiar, she was here yesterday with Private Gardens of the Hudson Valley. And today we go back to where the series began. This was Jane's first book, and it features 28 private gardens across Connecticut, gardens she came to love after moving there from England. What I enjoy most, though, is how she describes becoming a gardener herself. When Jane arrived in Connecticut, people assumed that because she was English, she must already know everything about gardening. She didn't. In fact, she says the only memorable gardening lesson from her childhood was accompanying an aunt to the Whipsnade Zoo to collect buckets of elephant dung for the roses. That's quite an introduction to gardening. Jane writes, "First, a confession. I'm addicted to gardens. I love being in my own, but I also get enormous pleasure from going to other people's, talking to them, smelling their roses, and listening to their plans. It's a pleasure I didn't know I was missing until I caught the gardening bug." The gardens in this book belong to remarkable people, including Oscar and Annette de la Renta, Bunny Williams, artists, collectors, and designers. But what they all have in common is time. None of these gardens appeared overnight. They grew season by season, year by year. Private Gardens of Connecticut by Jane Garmey is a reminder that every memorable garden has a story behind it. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1933 that the English botanist and art collector Shirley Sherwood was born in St. Albans, England. When Shirley was 9, her parents gave her a magnifying glass. She later said it opened an entirely new world. After that, family drives often came to a stop whenever Shirley spotted a flower she didn't recognize. She simply had to get out and take a closer look. When she was 14, she spent 3 months in Pakistan with her godfather, the last British governor of the Northwest Frontier Province. She explored the Himalayan foothills on horseback with another pony behind her, carrying her flower presses. There she saw wild orchids and rhododendrons growing in places she had never imagined. Shirley studied botany at Oxford, then earned a doctorate in medicinal chemistry. She later helped develop the ulcer medication Tegamet, which became, for a time, the world's best-selling prescription drug. Then, in 1990, while visiting an exhibition at the Royal Botanic Gardens Kew, Shirley bought her first modern botanical painting. She hadn't planned to start a collection, but she did. And from that purchase, she made one unusual decision. She would only collect the work of living artists. It changed everything. In 2008, the Shirley Sherwood Gallery of Botanical Art opened at Kew, the first gallery in the world devoted entirely to botanical art. Today, Shirley's collection includes more than 1,000 paintings by artists from more than 40 countries. Today, a ginger plant, Glabra sherwoodiana, bears Shirley's last name. And it's remarkable to think about how so much of her life began when she was just a little girl with a magnifying glass, developing the simple habit of stopping for a closer look. As we close the show today, I hope you'll try something. Before you pull a weed, before you deadhead a flower, before you reach for your trowel, simply stand still and stand back. Then soften your eyes and squint a little and see what your garden has to show you. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.